Hey, welcome back to the channel, everyone. So today we're breaking down 10 reasons why I think Path of Exiles 2 is perfect for new players. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the complex games like this, or if Path of Exile 1 seemed impossible to get into, stick around, this video is for you. So let's dive into what's changed and why Path of Exile 2 might be the most accessible ARPG yet. So, number one, simplified skill sockets. In Path of Exile 1, one of the biggest hurdles for new players was the socketing system. Skills were tied to your gear, which meant you needed to find items with the right sockets and colors just to use your abilities effectively. It wasn't just overwhelming, it often led to frustration because you couldn't even try out certain skills without the perfect gear. Path of Exile 2 eliminates this entirely. So now skills are going to be tied to your character, not your gear, giving you way more freedom to experiment and build without the grind for specific items. This is a huge quality of life improvement. Number 2, intuitive stat allocation. The passive skill tree in Path of Exile 1 was infamous for its size and complexity. While it gave you an endless build options, it was intimidating for new players to figure out where to start. A single mistake could derail your character's progression. In Path of Exile 2, stat allocation has been streamlined, so instead of forcing you to navigate overwhelming webs of nodes, the game now lets you choose stats more intuitively. You still have the depth for advanced players, but the process of building a character is much more approachable. So before, if we went through here and we got these dex nodes and say we needed a new int, we'd have to come all the way out here and then go into a strength or an int node. So that's going to be taken away. Now, as you go through each of these nodes, instead of it being forced to dexterity, I'd be able to click on and select the actual stat that I want. So this is going to make it much easier to play the game because you won't have to worry about going in and making sure you have the right amount of intelligence or dexterity or strength to use those skills that you want to be able to use. Number 3, crafting made easy. So crafting in PON was a nightmare for newcomers. You needed to understand the crafting stuff, the RNG mechanics, and the recipes, many of which weren't even explained in the game itself. Path of Exile 2 simplifies this by not only making crafting drops more abundant, but also creating a more user-friendly system. If you're a new player, you'll be able to create meaningful upgrades without feeling like you need to watch hours of YouTube tutorials. It's crafting made for everything. And I have probably 2,000, 3,000 hours into this game, and I still don't understand the crafting. And there's leagues that are crafting, and then there's regular crafting, and then there's crafting on top of crafting. So I'm really looking forward to jumping in, even as a veteran to the game, just to get into the new crafting in Path of Exiles 2, because crafting is so important in the game, and making it accessible to everyone is such a big improvement. Number 4, skill accessibility from the start. In the original game, you had to either wait until later chapters or hunt through vendors to find specific skills. This limited your ability to experiment early on. Now, in Path of Exile 2, it gives you the skills as you progress naturally. When you find a skill gem on the ground, it's not going to be a particular skill gem. You'll be able to cut it into anything that you want. So this not only makes the process smoother, but it encourages creativity right from the beginning. Number 5, easier skill resets. In Path of Exile 1, resetting your skills required more rare currency drops. If you wanted to change your build, you were often stuck grinding for hours. Now, I know they added the ability to reset with gold in the last scenario, but Path of Exiles 2 is going to start off with that. So resets are now going to be tied to gold, making it significantly easier to tweak your build. You're no longer locked into choices, giving you room to experiment and grow your character without the fear of making mistakes. So as a new character, if you want to go through and try something to see if it works, you now have the ability without being locked into it. So this is really great for beginners because they're going to be able to experiment and mess around without ruining their character. Number 6, roll cancel skills for fluid combat. One of the most frustrating aspects of combat in PoE 1 was being locked into an animation. If an enemy was about to hit you, you were often stuck finishing your skill before you could dodge. Path of Exile 2 introduces roll cancel skills, allowing you to break out of an animation and react in real time. This makes combat more fluid, dynamic, and most importantly, forgiving for new players. Number 7, in-game skill demonstrations. Have you ever picked a skill gem in the game only to find out later that it's not what you thought it was? Well, in Path of Exile 2, it solves this with in-game video previews. So now, when you're deciding between skills, you can see exactly how they function, making it easier to pick abilities that fit your playstyle. Number 8, improved controller support. If you've tried playing PoE 1 with a controller, you know it wasn't great. Path of Exile 2 changes that with a complete overhaul of the controller support. They even brought in a dedicated team to optimize the experience, ensuring the controller players have just as much control and precision as those on mouse and keyboard. Number 9, solo-friendly design. In PoE 2, the game is designed with solo players in mind. There's no content that requires a group, and they've balanced multiplayer mechanics to prevent unfair advantages. For example, in endgame content, you won't be able to resurrect fallen allies. This ensures a fair experience whether you're playing alone or with friends. And finally, number 10, free-to-play accessibility. Like the original, Path of Exile 2 is free to play, and it's something we can't ignore. While the beta requires a supporter pack, the full release will be open to everyone. If you're new to the series, I recommend investing your starter pack money into stash tabs and also at least one premium tab so that you can sell, because these are going to be a game changer for organization, and it also gives you the ability to get into the market. But beyond that, you can fully enjoy the game without ever spending a dime. As a bonus, I added 3 more for why returning players should be excited. For those of you returning to Path of Exiles, there's a lot to look forward to. First of all your PoE 1 items, stash tabs, and cosmetics are going to transfer over to PoE 2. You won't need to purchase anything, and your hard-earned rewards are going to be safe. Second, the game retains the depth of build crafting that we loved in PoE 1, while making it more accessible. Even with the changes, you can still create complex, unique builds without relying on guides this time. And finally, some familiar endgame content will carry over, giving returning players a sense of continuity while offering new players a smoother introduction to the endgame experience. So Path of Exiles 2 isn't just a sequel, it's a complete reimagining of what made the original game great while fixing its most frustrating issues. If you've been on the fence about trying Path of Exile, this is the perfect time to jump in. So what do you think? Are you ready to dive into Path of Exile 2? Or are you a veteran returning for a fresh start? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more Path of Exile 2 content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.